Okay, so we got the camera changed over. I switched over. Now Becca wanted to have silver um, red around her guide foots with a black trim band. And again, I'm gonna change that up. This broad blank, for being a pink camo, has a ton of black in it. So we're gonna do the silver and do an inlay of pink into it. These guide foot she's got are super cool. Let me see if you can see them. They're purple with a gold inlay inside it. And that's going to go about there. I always go a few inches past where I want to stop at, because the end wraps always get like spaced out and gross. So I always go way past what I want so I can cut it down to be to a nice clean looking one. So this is actually going to go right about here, I believe. Yeah, that's going to go right about there. So we'll start our tie-off wrap. We're going to start it up right on this X, and maybe right here. Yeah, I think we should start out in the center of this diamond here is where we'll start it. And this guide foot will end up. I put a piece of tape on, if you notice in the beginning, I put a piece of tape on here because that's where the guide foot's gonna, this part of the guide foot's gonna stop at that beginning of that tape. So I put it underneath the wrap so I knew where it was gonna be. So let me get a new razor blade out, and then I have to clean this mess up. I'm gonna make a real big mess here. This is the worst part about it, is get a new blade out. I don't like to throw these razor blades in the garbage can because my wife and kids are always putting stuff in the garbage, and I hate to see one of them get sliced. So what I like to do is put the old one back into the box, and then I'll tape it up so that they can't get cut. Might be overkill, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I hate to see one of my kids get cut by a razor blade, of all things. That'd be my fault. So I just tape the blade in there, put it back in the cardboard, even if they push down on the garbage now. I know they're not gonna get cut. Alright, so let's string this rod wrapper up, thread wrap, tensioner, and we'll see about getting this on. We're just gonna put this first guide foot on, close off that end. Now wrapping over these things is a challenge, because if you just cut it clean, you'll see this big hump in your thread when you do it. So I've learned a couple little tricks. Do I need more tension now? I'll put a lot of tension on it at first, and I'll back it off as needed. I'll get this thing threaded up and get started here. I watch this, I control my tension depending on how this little like fishing pole tip tensioner looks. You want it to be aiming at, see, it's aiming way down too far, so I know that's too much tension. I'll loosen it up till it's pointing at about the rod, and that looks pretty good for now. Yeah, it's moving really slow. We'll get a piece of tape. Oh, we already got a piece of tape right here. Put a piece of tape on here just to hold this thing out of my way. Some of these guys can, oh man, it didn't work, did it? Alright, we're gonna have to tape it up here on the tape. I don't have a good grip. Some of them guys can do this without now let me put that foot there again, see where I want it to stop. So yeah, I'm gonna want to be up in this one, I believe. Yeah, I started to run. Get this down where it goes. I'll turn this 4 or 5 times just to get it started. Alright, that's good enough. Now what we'll do is we'll take that tag out there. The last thing we need is any more thread under there that's than necessary. And we'll cut that out. Man, we're gonna have to clean this bench up. Alright, so we're gonna put our foot up there again. That's about where it's gonna sit right there. And we're gonna be about here. So I say we get a couple more wraps on there and start cutting this stuff off. I hate cutting this off because let me tell you, one little mess up and it could get bad. So we're just gonna get some tension on these threads to hold it. Alright, reel seats up. And this is gonna go roughly here. Alright, here's the part I hate. Let's cut this thread off. Now, you don't want to saw into your blank. You don't want to hit your blank too much. I'm just laying this brand new razor blade, just rolling it over these threads. And they're popping on their own because there's a lot of tension on them. So I barely got to touch these things. And they pop. Look at all that wasted thread. Do not want to nick your blank. It might compromise it. Well, not might, it will compromise it. So you don't want to compromise your blank at all. Now we got our other piece of tape. This was the one that we were using for center, to center our diamonds. That can come off now. Still got the thread under there that we're going to use it for a straight line. It's all sticky. We'll clean this blank up later. I'm going to keep that there because I know the edge of that tape is where I wanted that guide to stop at. I believe. Let's double check. I know my measurement. I had it all prepared. I planned everything out in advance. This is my laser. I shoot down these things. Technically, that's right on the money. So I know the edge of that is where I want that foot to stop. This is my laser that I can shoot down. I can shoot down the line guides up and stuff. This thing is really handy. Alright, so we got this cut. Now if we just wrap, it's going to have a big hump. So what we'll do is we fray the ends so it flattens them out so it goes over them easier. And then I make it a lot of different, so it's not all one straight line. It'll go like this, because when it jumps at the end, it gets complicated. So we're just gonna get all these to go straight first. And like I said, I'm using little pressure because you guys know what I've been saying about nicking your blank. Just keep going around it. Your fraying the tip and I'm cutting them off random pieces. I'll put more pressure on in certain areas and just cut off random threads. I want this to make as smooth of a transition as possible. Now I'm just going and I'm making it like a zigzag, so they're not all gonna fall at the same spot. I want them to fall at different spots, because if it all falls at the same spot, your thread tries to jump and then it looks bad. But I think that looks good. We spun it so many times we messed up our thread here, so we're gonna keep putting tension on our tensioner, back this up till we get to our good point here. Okay, put tension back on that thing, and we'll just spin this. And that went over perfectly without any issues at all. It's smooth, it didn't jump, and I have a gap in my thread at all. That worked out nice. So I know this is gonna go on here now. We're gonna get this lined up. Let me get my narrow tape. I usually use the glue, but this blanket has a wrap, a decorative this Muddy Girl stuff looks like I don't know if it's a paint or if it's like a sort of like a decal on there, and I do not want to compromise it, so I'm not going to glue onto it and rip anything. So we will use tape for this one. Got our reel seat up. Alright, I'm gonna tape this here and shoot my laser down this thing. I want to make sure this first one is dead center, because this is gonna get epoxied and I don't want it to mess any be off. If it's off in epoxy, you're not gonna be able to adjust it. So we'll put our laser in and we'll shoot our beam down it just to make sure that we are where we wanted to be. And I'll use a card. And we're hitting the chip. I gotta put a rubber band on that to hold it. It's a lot of weight, that laser. We'll level it. It's got a little level on the top. Okay, it's perfectly level. Pretty darn close right there. We're gonna call that dead center. All right. So now we'll shut off this laser, remove it, and then wrap this up. Then we got to close off the other one with this end down here by the reel seat. All right, let's wrap over this guide foot. Oh no, see, and then I've been twisting on my, this is why I want this epoxy right away. I just messed up all this pink thread here. Once we get that epoxy on there, we can do whatever we want, but until that epoxy's on there, we want these babies as tight as possible. Okay, we got enough thread on there to release this tape. The guide foot will stay on its own now. And we're gonna finish spinning up this thing. This is where a power wrapper would come in handy. Do have one on order. Okay, now I'm gonna loosen this tension up. That tension is real high. And the reason I loosen it up because when I put my pull string through there and pull on this thing, man, it'll break. So I'm gonna see if I can use a scrap piece of purple here. It might be too short. I got a couple pieces here. We're gonna just make a pull string quick. I'll show you the process. Just tie a knot in it, bing. Okay, let's tighten our tension up. Now you want your pull string to be on the side where you're not looking, and with a spinning reel, you're looking at the guides are facing down. So we're just gonna put this on the side, and we're just gonna wrap over this thing. Until it meets the foot. We do not want it going up the foot. I think one or two more turns here. 1, 2, that's perfect. So we'll release our tension. We're holding on with this finger so it don't go crazy. We'll send that through that loop we just put under there. Now we're holding on with this one. So remove that tape. Put our finger in this side. We're just gonna hold it tight for a minute. Now it's holding itself. So now what we'll do is we'll cut this off. Not quite clean, just a hair above it. And then we'll pull it through. Now it's hiding underneath there, you can't even see it. So any little imperfections, you can use your burnishing tool here and all that'll come out. What this does is, if there's any little tiny spaces in between the threads, you can just go across it like that and they'll flatten out and close up any gaps. I'm just going to double check everything. So it's looking good. Let's see if we can't get you guys to a closer look here. Let me move this camera. This is what we, oops, my power pack fell in the way. So this is what we ended up with. Got it tied up nice here. But there's a lot of black in this blank. See, like right here. I didn't want the black to just blend in, so I hit it with one wrap of pink around the inside and then around the outside. So then on the parts that weren't even part of the thing, see, so now that triangle's pink inlay, pink inlay, pink inlay, and they're exactly the same distance spaced apart. But technically this and this is the wrap. This isn't even a wrap and this isn't even a wrap. So that's where all that math came in. I'm trying to make these all the same spot. And this blank is real big here, but when you get down here, it's a lot smaller. So your triangles get smaller. My main triangles I kept the same size because I measured them, but that the scrap triangle, the one in between, ends up smaller. So we're gonna got that nice purple, guys. Check out that color, guys. So now we're gonna get this set up with the rod dryer here, clean up this mess. I'm a disaster. And then we'll show you the epoxy. Be right back.